I've lived 1,000 lives. I've piloted 1,000 souls. I've killed and fought and died just for another role.
This is the Happy Jacks RPG podcast, a roundtable discussion that's a mix of friendship, humor, unbridled enthusiasm, and tabletop RPG topics sent in from around the world.
Just for another role.
There we go. Yeah, I just had to open up properties and redo it. Hey, everybody! Let's start that again.
Are there
hey,
sounds?
everybody! Welcome to Happy Jack's RPG podcast, season 32, episode 11. I'm Ingy,
I'm Pooja.
I'm Kadeem.
And I'm Adam.
and we're gonna be jacking around here today.
That's what we do.
I don't know what move that was.
Happy Jacks.
It was the Breakfast Club dance.
A little.
All right, in today's episode, Steve in SoCal asks what PC backstories work best. I have thoughts on that. I have deep feelings. Dougler wants to keep players from talking over each other, and Vierk from DC asks about the weirdest games we've played. Should be a good one.
Everyone knows if we're live.
Right.
He was there for some of them.
I did.
If you'd like to contribute a question or story to the show, email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. We need emails. Send them in. Announcements. JackerCon, our annual community-run online gaming extravaganza, was a massive success. Over 15 games were run over a dozen different TTRPG systems, including Trophy, The Black Tower, PBTA, Mage, High Caster, L5R, Traveler, and more. Thank you to the JackerCon High Council for getting it all together, Jackalope for keeping the Discord bots in line, those damn bots, and all the GMs and players who made it such a success. See you at next year's JackerCon.
So much kudos to the person who ran Traveler as a one-shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just make characters and then they have like a 10-minute story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would do a Traveler one-shot of just making characters. I have before, actually.
For sure.
Yeah.
That
I mean,
actually
if we go
sounds like a
into
great
older
one.
rules,
Yeah.
you can because they'll die during character creation.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Especially if you're Stork.
There's all the drama you need.
Yeah, I really wanted to run something, but it's been really crazy week. We have updated our Patreon. We are changing to a monthly subscription model instead of a per creation model. If you are a current Patreon, you must log into your account and update your settings. happyjacks.org/Patreon. We've also added a bunch of new tiers that offer a number of perks. Access to the long lost advice show backlog, opportunities to game with Happy Jacks hosts, a new Patreon-only show where we nerd out on geeky topics. Ooh, I signed up for some of those.
I'm signed up for all of the Star Trek ones.
Yes.
So if you want my info,
I'm like,
Hit us
I'm
up.
not qualified for most of these because I only kind of like everything
Right.
instead of
A
deeply
jacker of all
obsessed over.
trades.
Yes.
I've never let anyone's interest in my opinion be a deterrent to expressing it.
That is true.
It is only to their benefit.
Right? Yeah, yeah. I have opinions about everything, and I'm happy to share them, even if I don't know anything about it.
More Patreon perks. We got actual play campaign debriefs. The first one will be for Unsung Tales.
And we're recording this week.
I'm so excited.
And we never accept we never accept ad or sponsorship money. We'll fix that in post. So our Patreons are the ones who keep the lights on and the mini fridge full. And it is looking a little thin over there.
Yeah, right.
So go to happyjags.org/Patreon. And our indie designer of the month is Allison, aka Draz, she, her. The website is drazillion.itch.io. That's DRAZILLION. This week's feature, Superpowered. Superpowered is a I read this earlier, I love it. Is a TTRPG about Mary Sue's and embracing the tropes associated with them unironically. It engages being self-indulgent and shameless and having fun over all else. One player acts as the supervisor, the game's facilitator. All other players must act as the Sues themselves. To play, you only need 6-sided dice, a means to record information, and a willingness to approach the concept of Mary Sue's with sincerity. And it's only $3 on itch.io. And now we're on to our mailbag, unless anybody wants to talk about this stuff.
I will also point out, it's not an official tier level thing for Patreon, but my new Happy Jacks game that is coming up in the not super distant future is going to be the Blade Runner RPG for Free League Games.
Oh, damn.
Patreon members on the Discord, feel free to message me if you have an idea for a cool Blade Runner-esque NPC that you might like to see appear in the game.
Ooh.
You don't have to worry about sending me stats and figuring out how to block out a character. None of that. Just a concept for like who this person is, what they kind of do. Like a bartender that has an off-kilter mohawk because they've got a bold spot. I don't know. Like, yeah. However you want to, whatever
better
character you want to.
characters than
Okay, yeah.
This is
Like
why I
that,
asked
but
for
better.
help, okay?
I'm sorry, I'm just mean because I'm not in the game.
I know, right?
I don't even know who's in the game yet. Honestly,
I'm going to
we
submit a
haven't even
character
done all of that.
named Pooja.
And I'm going to submit a character named Adam.
Oh, my.
So, Patreon folks on the Discord, feel free to send me a DM with just a blurb, a sentence, whatever you want to throw together. It can be more than that if you're really invested in somebody and you have this cool idea for a story. I may or may not get around to using them if you make something very specific and the characters just never go to somewhere like that. I'll do my best. It's kind of one of those things, but
Interestingly, I brought this book
Oh.
this week. It's The Game Master's Book of Non-Player Characters. It's written by Jeff Ashworth. I think I can talk about it here. It's a nice, thick book. As the back says, billions of possibilities, hundreds of characters. And they talk about, like, they give you, like, some places for people to be, and then they give you cool things like secrets that they might have,
Cool.
yeah, it's really cool. Check it out. I don't know how much it is or anything like that. It's completely unplanned. I bought it a while back, and I've been reading it for a game that I have coming up. So,
And pointing out, we
Appropriate.
don't do like sponsorships or placements here.
Yeah.
If we mentioned something, it's because we really like it.
yeah, that was literally something I had in my backpack today, and I'm like, boy, everything sure is heavier today.
Right? Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go to the mailbag, and because I have deep feelings on this subject, I'll take it if you don't mind.
Okay.
Unless somebody else wants to.
Now go for it.
All right. Kimmy and the rest of the Happy Jacks crew.
yay, and the rest.
Woo woo! And the rest. We're at the rest. I was musing recently about the most mockable character background trope, that of the orphan with no ties to anyone. While it's fair to poke at this and the stereotypical, overused, easy way out background, I think it bears a short conversation. If you think about it, why would a well-adjusted family person with a home, job, spouse, kids, loving parents, etc., risk it all to go potentially die fighting goblins in a dungeon, or fly off on space adventures for weeks or months at a time, or die during character creation? Why would you do that? I'd venture to say that most PCs probably should come with relatively few attachments, or else they'd not be adventuring. Not to say that attachments are bad entirely, but would likely be limited. Some level of attachment, either from background or developed in-game, give great motivation. 1. Maybe you're fighting those goblins because they're threatening your home village. 2. Maybe you're an itinerant space trucker to pay for Uncle Ned's dialysis. 3. Maybe you're embroiled in the criminal underworld because you made a deal to keep your younger sister out of that world. Conversely, if you start from a relatively normal background, whatever normal means to you, and have numerous close contacts and maybe even a stable job and place to live, why does your character adventure? Which is a question I always ask.
I mean, sometimes suburban children just need to rebel.
That's true. 1, I liked the Traveler character creation technique, which we were just talking about, pioneered by Tappy, if I recall. I have no idea if that's actually true. Where everyone rolls a mishap at the end of their last term just to give some motivation on why they aren't continuing on to a peaceful retirement. 2, as above, using threats to your home, family, friends may cause you to leave either to combat said threat or lure away the danger. I'm curious what techniques you use personally when generating characters and or apply to your players when GMing. What do you find is the sweet spot in terms of how attached a character should be to a locale or populace versus their level of wanderlust? I'll definitely say that the most satisfying gaming I've had was when the characters became attached to some town or NPCs and largely did their adventuring to safeguard those folks. However, it's also a recipe for paranoia and inaction. If you're always afraid that as soon as you leave home, your house will be burned down and your parents kidnapped by the big bad. Many thanks, as always, for your time and consideration. Steve in SoCal.
I feel the need to just, like, as a person who's played a set of Traveler before on this channel, the Traveler retirement is like 27.
Yeah, right.
Like,
Yeah, you're done pretty
Well,
early.
You can, I mean, at the same time, I've had multiple people in games of Traveler I've run that are like, all right, time to go adventuring. I'm 87 years old,
it's been
and I was the
87
governor of a whole colony. Like, what? What are you doing here?
You know, things went sideways, and now I'm broke.
Yeah,
All aboard the USS Shady Pines.
right.
You know what? Those retirement communities.
It could be a wild time in there,
Right?
Sure.
Yeah. That's where all this sexy traveler happens.
Exactly. That's Traveler nights.
Right.
Yes.
In space, it's always night.
Yes.
And you always need the heater on.
Put on a sweater, Gladys.
Everyone in space has a cool leather jacket.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
God, I want
actually,
this
one of the
thing
things
out.
I always ask all of my players is, why does your character adventure? Why don't they stay home,
Yeah.
raise pigs, and spend evenings at the pub with their family? And it's up to them to figure that out, not me. But
Yeah.
I can help them get there.
Yeah. I've played several of these characters with nothing in their past attaching them before. It's kind of I really like the not so much the I'm an orphan, but the whole sort of raised by wolves kind of trope where
Yeah.
I have no societal connections except the people who I'm with now who somehow saved me from my lack of social connection. And so for me, I use that as a way to really bond with the I like to play characters who desperately need the other people in the party. Because
Yeah.
I have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
But when I'm GMing, I really encourage players to add as many kinds of connections as they can. Have a little sister, or have an elderly parent or grandparent, have a pet. I want all of these things because those then give you stakes for the drama of your story, and that's really exciting.
Yeah, and having those loose connections in your character's backstory is it's a it's an act of vulnerability on that player's point. And like Pooja and I, we were talking last week after our game about how like we've been traumatized by former DMs, and I've had those players who are like, I have no family, never did. There's nothing that I care about. You can't mess with me. And that's, you know, those people have to be coached out of their shells.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You got to give them some trust, and especially when
you have
somebody
to build trust.
Yeah, when somebody hasn't done that a lot, and you're a GM who lets that be a positive experience, you really have to like remind them they're not going to die. Just putting them in a little danger.
Which is another great thing that you can check in with before the game is like, how much can I mess with your family?
Yeah, exactly.
100%. Well, also, like the cozy cottage game of like, you kind of do adventuring stuff, but you live in your little village. Like, you're the guy that goes out and deals with the goblins or the cattle rustler or whatever genre you're in.
Yeah.
Like,
It sounds like such a fun game.
you know,
A bunch of over-the-hill adventurers who are all in one village.
little town. Yeah.
It's like, oh, there's a ogre out there.
Or the story could even open like as a GM, you got to lay that out for your players. Like, hey guys, this is not going to be a world-spanning Indiana Jones style adventure with a map and a dotted line. This is, you were born in this little town. You're likely going to die in this little town, and you deal with this little town's problems.
Yeah.
Like, that can be awesome. So as a GM, you got to set that up.
Yeah.
And then those people can have a plethora of connections, you know, like family and people that hate you because they're angry exes and whatever could happen in this little town. That's fine. But if you're going to be on this, like, who knows if I'll ever come back again adventure, a lot of times, like, I've had players that, you know, they come up with a whole family and all that stuff. And then the game's like, well, we're getting on the airship.
Yeah.
And you never come back. And you're like, well, I really hope Uncle Jimmy's doing all right back on the farm.
And that's
right.
And it's a whole thing that, like, when you talk about how attached a character should be to a locale or a populace or wanderlust, you're really talking about setting expectations at the beginning of your campaign and then checking in, especially if you're in a home game that could last 3 to 5 years. I mean, I don't know if people really do that anymore, but, like, that's how I cut my teeth. That, like, okay, periodic check-ins with people for how, like, do we need to loop back in to, like, your hometowns or stuff? Or are you on a space voyage for the next 7 years?
Yeah.
In which case, like, yeah, like, your character's backstory and your character's motivation and connections to their family would be important to you as a player, but not necessarily as important to the table as a whole. And it's interesting to bring in that kind of stuff because, like, as anyone who has listened to me play for, like, the last however many years knows, like, I'm just really deeply connected to generational trauma.
What?
What could I say? I'm not even sorry. But it's that kind of thing. Like, it informs your character's decisions about what they're doing. But if you're in a Wanderlust game where, like, you may never get back to your hometown, what are those relationships informing in terms of your character's current actions?
Yeah, and I'm going to definitely, like, weave some stuff in, like, when I get a character's backstory, you know, and I've heard some people who are like, that's the worst thing ever, and I'm like, no, maybe for you that's fine, but I love it because I weave stuff in that has to do with that backstory, and then people get really invested in the game. And now I've been playing a home game since the pandemic. It's been over 3 years now, and we're getting to the end game where we're wrapping things up, and it's like time to check in again with everybody and be like, where do you want this character to kind of end up? Like, it's not necessarily going to be like the perfect bow that you're going to tell me, but, like, I want to make sure you feel like it's been, you know, a worthy trip.
I think for me, it's, you know, asking about the, like, techniques you use personally is especially since I first started playing PBTA stuff and especially with masks, it's like, I want everybody to be connected. For most of my gaming life, it was you meet in a tavern and that's where we start. And when I'm setting up a party for a game that I'm gonna run, I'm like, nope, you all know each other. You've been together for like 6 months, a year, 2 years, and like let's talk about the connections that you've formed since then and what's happened. And I try to really I try to guide players to connect to other people's NPCs as well. And it's one of the things that gives me a lot of joy in a session 0 is like, oh, you have a professor character and you have a mother, like, what if those are the same people? And it gives this extra layer of involvement to the characters in their interaction together.
I definitely went, what if they're dating?
Oh, wow, way to be sexist, Pooja.
I mean, I didn't say anything about
A
any kind of
professor and
gender.
a mother
or
could
anything.
Why is that weird?
It's not, I'm being ironic.
Um,
They're lesbians, so
exactly.
Yes.
it's not sexist.
Yeah, there's 2 questions I always ask whenever I'm developing a character, because I like to sit down and at least have one discussion about the character. And I always tell them, like, this is fluid. If it doesn't play, if it plays in a different way, we can go back and we can retcon stuff. Like, don't feel like you're locked into anything. But, why are you adventuring? And how do you play well in a group? Like, because... I had one character who's like, I'm a pirate ship captain. And I'm like, well, why aren't you on your pirate ship?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I've had the character who's like, I don't trust anybody. I just go off on my own. And I'm like, that's great when you're in a comic book or
Right.
maybe a movie. But like, we're playing a group sport.
Yeah.
You guys need to be in a group. So you need to find a way. And I had somebody who did like the most amazing thing because she was the loner who didn't like to be around people, but contrasted that with super loyalty. And so she was like, I don't care, like, this sounds like a town problem. And then somebody messed with one of her friends and she was like, that's it, everybody dies,
Yeah. I think there is a place for those kind of loner characters. There is a place for orphan characters. I just don't... I like to guide players, like, let's not make that mean that you don't have any connections at all, right? That like what are the connections you formed outside of these other connections that other people might generally have? Like, what drives you? What keeps you connected? What keeps you with these people?
Yeah, was there somebody at the orphanage, like another orphan that you were like partners in crime and now they're missing? Or
Like, I think that it's a lot more accepted and common now for people to understand the term found family.
Yeah.
Like, your backstory doesn't have to be the people you're blood related to or the people you grew up with. It can be the people that you chose as an adult or, coming to age or whatever. Like, it's the thing that, like, makes people tick is the connections that we have to other people. So even if you don't have blood family or you are estranged from them or you have chosen to distance yourself from them for your character's own benefit, what connections did you make that propel you forward? Like, it's kind of like just asking your characters, like, what do they actually care about?
Yeah.
Who do they actually care about? And if the answer is the other people at the table, that is absolutely valid.
Yeah.
Like, I have burned every bridge behind me and I am only looking forward is absolutely a valid character choice.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just, like, make sure that you're actually connecting with those people on an emotional level, or your character is. Also, hopefully you connect with your friends on an emotional level.
God, I hope so.
Yeah.
And also, not these people. And I want to point out, these games are about like fantasy fulfillment.
Yeah.
If you want to play a certain trope, don't feel shamed into not.
Yeah.
Unless it's hurtful to other people. But, you know.
Like Mary Sue's.
Right.
You
Yeah.
could play a whole game about Mary Sue.
Yeah.
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 And if you want to be Aragorn or Finn Rizal, like, just
Right.
go for it.
Yeah.
You know, because it's only us at the table who are going to know, and maybe the people who are listening to this podcast, if it's, you know.
Right.
Yeah, the thousands upon thousands of you.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I would just point out that two of the most prominent characters in popular culture who follow this trope are Wolverine and Batman, and both of them are dreadfully boring when they're by themselves. They really become interesting when they start dealing with other people, and especially when they start caring about other people. That's when you get the most interesting stories about those characters. So
Yeah, because good drama is not about character, it's about relationships.
Yeah.
Who that person is in relation to somebody else.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, Dad Batman is the best Batman.
Oh, yes. Not to be confused with Daddy Batman.
No, no contrary opinions accepted.
So we do.
Have we done good? Are we ready
I
for
feel
mailbag
like
two?
I think so.
Who wants to take it?
I'll go ahead, I suppose. Mailbag 2. Hey, Kimmy and the Happy Jack crew. Mid-time listener, started listening near the start of the pandemic.
Hey.
I like that.
Hey,
welcome. So I am going to be GMing my first game on stream in August. I'm very excited for this as well as kind of nervous. I am rather inexperienced when it comes to being the GM, and as such, there are some things I'm nervous about handling. So I have
Players.
I have 3 players, 2 of whom I've played with for about 2 odd years, and the third I've played with for a month or 2 on a different game. I've noticed when sometimes when they are playing, they get excited and will talk over players or the GM at the time. I was wondering if you fine folks had suggestions for when you're in game and want to nudge things back to the person who was spoken over without having to do the, hey X, B was in the middle of their sentence. If this does become a problem, I do plan to talk to them outside of game stream because they're not a bad person, just socially awkward. Honestly, I'm probably overthinking this more than I need to. As always, thank you for your content and any advice. Sincerely, Dougler. P.S. If plugging is okay, party wipe games on Twitch. Sure.
Ta-da. It's
Dougler
okay.
likes party wipe games on Twitch.
Uh-oh.
And,
Next
PPS.
page.
PPS.
Oh.
You guys are awesome. Oh,
Yay!
PPS. Sorry if my question was rambling.
Not at
Actually,
all.
Actually, it's
I'm
very
sorry,
succinct.
so short. It's so short.
Concise and well written. Thank you.
right? That's that's one of the least rambling mails we've ever had on Happy Jacks.
Didn't even have to take a water break in the middle of it.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, put up that be right back screen. Rehydrate and we'll be back to this email.
Okay.
I do want to say, like, as a baby GM myself, like, or I guess now I have 2 campaigns and like whatever under my belt or whatever, but like, props to you for stepping out there
Absolutely.
and going out and GMing. It can feel really overwhelming at the start, but it sounds like you have a good table and that y'all are like gonna make something awesome. So more power to you.
Yeah.
Yes. First off, I think you should talk to them before you go on stream.
For sure.
Yeah.
You need to have the okay, these are the rules of the stream, because it's different than when you're at home on your at a table. And I don't know if this is at a table going on stream or if this is on Zoom or Discord or whatever.
Either which way.
Um,
And the same rules apply.
Yeah, I know when I was running a game on Discord, if somebody was trying to talk and somebody talked over them, and like a lot of times, like Zoom would just cut out that first person's audio because the other one was louder, I would just put up my hand, and that was one of our signals of like, hey, there's something that needs to happen. Pay attention to me right now. And that first person would go, and I'd be like, and I would like just completely, because this is just something that happens, and be like, okay, hang on, Pooja had something she was saying. Go ahead and say that, And I found that people really appreciate that. You do have to be a bit of a stoplight.
Yeah.
It's not the right thing.
A meeting manager. Kind
Yes.
Of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somehow that's worse than stoplight.
Sorry.
Hello, I'm your RPG coordinator.
Right? Yes.
You know what?
We're gonna have so much
Coordinators don't get
synergy.
nearly enough
I
credit.
know, right?
No,
I would love to have a coordinator on my games, just to handle the scheduling.
Yeah.
I need a
Yeah.
coordinator for my life.
Right? No kidding.
Yeah.
I think doing games on stream has actually really helped me with this, and making me more aware of when I'm talking over other people, or when and in streaming games, everybody seems to be a little more conscious of it than otherwise. So I think in some ways, if it's that same group, that will help, and especially if you really stress to them ahead of time, like, hey, I know when we're at our game, we get excited, and you can have a little side conversation, or you can whisper something. You don't even have to call them out on like, hey, you're always talking over so-and-so, don't do that. But just say like, hey, I know we have these side conversations. You can't do that while we're on stream. People listening and watching will not be able to understand if there's two streams of dialogue going on.
Yeah, because when the microphone's on you, everyone can hear it.
Yeah.
and there's tons of little things you learn after doing this for a while, like how all of us are sitting around, and when we turn to face somebody else, we're still shifting, so our microphone is kind of aimed at our face still.
Right.
Yep.
Like, it's a weird little awkward thing that you learn to do after the first couple of times.
Yeah.
You just think about the show, right?
Mhm.
When you stream a game, you are putting on a show for your viewers. And that's the point,
Yeah.
right? You're putting out this product that somebody will consume and enjoy. I'm not saying you can't have fun doing it. Ask anybody that's ever been in a play or a film or a TV show. You can have a great time making the product. You just have to make sure that the end result is the show.
Yeah. And
So, yeah.
like from a performing aspect, like one of the important things is to give focus as well as take focus and like listen to other people. And you don't always have to be the center of attention,
Yeah.
which may be ironic, me saying that a little, but
No, but it's a good point that, like, and I think where this person is coming from is a sense of, like, getting caught up in the moment and excitement. And also, like, when it comes to dealing with somebody with social awkwardness, I know that, like, personally, I'm super socially awkward. Like, I have a hard time reading cues and things like that. Like,
speaking to the choir,
That-
preaching to the choir.
that, like, the idea of talking to the whole group and setting expectations at the start to say, like, hey, we just need to make sure that we're all looking out to speak one at a time so that when we're on stream, people can understand us all. And you as a GM can just say, like, hey, hold on to that thought for a second. We're just going to let this other player finish, and then we'll get right to you.
Yeah.
That it doesn't have to be a confrontational thing at all. And it doesn't have to be like a setup where you specifically take a person aside to talk to them about their quirk that then they're going to obsess over for the next 6 weeks. 6 years.
Some of us
Whatever.
do that.
Six forever.
Six decades until they die. In their deathbed going, I can't believe I talked over Barney.
Yeah.
Like, but just that sometimes it's just a thing that, like, you lay down those ground rules, but more like expectations.
Yeah.
And then you all know where you're coming from when you say, like, hey, let's hold on for a second. So you can, it's like it's like opening the pressure valve to start so that it doesn't build up and become a thing later.
That is so well said. And then also, like in my old game, we had hand signals, just some stuff to go like especially on Zoom, because when we're in this room, I can talk right after Pooja's done talking, or like add something on or be in the middle of it. You can't do that while you're streaming. And so if one of us was like, oh, I've got a thing to say to this, we would just raise our hands. And then, so that somebody knew that there was something else going on, and you don't feel that pressure to just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and never end your sentence.
That's the trick.
Yeah.
Learn to give a pause break to let other people interject.
find the end of your thought and get to it.
And then
Yeah.
take a breath and look at everybody, see that no one's jumping in, continue your thought. That's fine. But
Yeah.
if you have something that you want to say and you're saying it, and then it looks like someone else has something you want to say, kind of get to a point where you can pause and let them jump in.
Yeah.
So you don't. It's not you talking for 15 minutes, blah, 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 and then everybody else is sitting around like, oh man, I really anxious looking. I want to. Come on, let me get in there a word.
Do feel a little personally attacked.
We all do it. We all have done it.
I'm really bad about it in my general life. I'm actually much better at sharing spotlight when I'm in a game or on stream. I'm really bad about noticing that I have been talking endlessly for 20 minutes and everybody else.
And I don't know how to stop.
Right? Yeah.
Someone help!
Yeah. Right.
Breaks around.
Yeah, sometimes I'll just keep talking because I feel like the space needs to be full. And one of the things that I've been practicing on a lot over the last few years is trying to really, really control to do more listening than talking. And especially as a GM, I think that is really helpful because when you're the GM and you're just enraptured by what's going on at the table,
It's the best thing ever.
yeah, and other people see that too, and they're like, "Oh, I want to get you to that point." And and generally, people do really want to please the GM. They want the GM to be able to just sit there and enjoy how awesome these characters are.
Embrace your daddiness
Yeah,
as a GM.
Yes.
Daddy Doogler.
I've had players like, oh God, I'm sure John just wants us to move this all along because he's got all this stuff planned out and we've just been sitting here having interpersonal relationships for the last half hour. I'm like, you guys are the game.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I have stuff prepared for whenever you go over there. That's fine.
Yeah,
or if you never get over there, I don't care.
Right, yeah.
I want you guys to have the fun game that you want because I'm your facilitator.
Yeah,
Your enabler.
yeah. It's a joy when you get to those moments.
Oh, yeah.
One of the other pieces of advice I would give, or did you want to comment on that? Or
I was gonna say, I'm lazy as hell. Right? If I'm running a game and my players are just gonna go off for an hour, great.
Yeah.
That means I don't have to do an hour of prep, and I'm not talking constantly.
I'm toward the end of this campaign,
Way to go.
and these characters, they can do the whole. I'm like, I don't have to prepare anything tonight because I know they're gonna spend like. They had a surprise engagement. There was like, and they all fixed it. It had to happen amongst themselves, and I was just like, "This is the best."
Yeah. The best is when I can start my GM prep for the session with sexy goblin ? And then I sit down, and then the players just take over, and I don't say a damn word until and scene. Next session, we'll do like.
I'm sorry.
That's beautiful.
I'm sorry. Sexy goblin !
Oh.
That is an excellent point.
Okay, that needs to be the new T-shirt. Yeah.
Sexy.
Sexy goblin question mark? Sexy goblin exclamation.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
The chat says Adam and I are two of a kind. Yeah, it's true. And Rose ran a fantastic masks game for several of us over pandemic, and it was just like Rose is fantastic at just like, okay, here's what's going on, and now go, and and sets up a scene in such a great way that you're like, okay, let's just talk and let's figure out what happens, and she just sits back and she's like, awesome, this is so good. And then you end up getting yourself into huge trouble and introducing things like oh, your actual biological father is a dead god who wants to come back and destroy the world, and it's like you know. And Rose is just sitting there slurping her noodles. Thank you. But one of the things that I was going to say is another piece of advice is talk to your players about how you like to do scenes, and and how Teen Wolf, which Pooja and I both worked on, we so the creator of Teen Wolf, Jeff Davis, he always said, and you'll notice this if you watch Teen Wolf, he never wants to see the start of a scene or the end of a scene. Like drop them in the middle, end it before it's over, and then let people fill in the blanks of what happened. And it's not always the right idea, but a lot of times, like, you don't need to finish every conversation until it's taught to death. And sometimes it's like, okay, that was a fantastic piece of dialogue, let's cut right there, let's go to what everybody else is doing, because that's just too good to pass up. Like, that's a scene ender right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't be afraid to let the tension ride for a while. And you'll see this with a lot, like, I mean, who doesn't watch all the television and movies now at their house because, like, besides the pandemic and everything else, but you'll see this in some of the best television, that, like, that tension will ride.
Oh, yeah.
And even when the scene that is between two players isn't about that tension, it's still simmering there underneath the surface.
Yeah.
And it's delicious.
Oh, yeah. The best feeling is when the people who weren't in the scene that you switch to and to cover what they were doing are like, okay, let's wrap this up because I want to find out what happened with them.
I recently had 3 of the 5 players go like, don't cut to us, we just want to watch the rest. Because there was like a burgeoning love story between 2 of the characters, and it was like so awkward and beautiful, and I'm like,
it's the best.
I always, so I like to look at my role as a GM in terms of a restaurant. So I'm the prep cook.
Right.
I come in early in the morning and I chop all these vegetables and I lay out all the stuff and I make sure the orders get there and everything's stocked and ready to go. The players come in and they're the actual cooking crew, right? They're the ones that are taking all these little bits that they've found and putting them into recipes and making stuff. But I, as the GM during the game, am the customers of the restaurant.
So
I'm coming in and I might order something and then I don't know what the hell's going on over there. Right? So
no idea what's coming out of that kitchen.
It could be full on ratatouille back there. I don't know. But that's the whole story. And I'm just out here and I'm going to get a meal and I'm going to have a fun time.
I prepped fish and chips. I don't know where the croque madame came from.
I love the idea that you come in, you feed the bitch, aka the sourdough starter, for those of you who don't read a bunch of old Anthony Bourdain. Like, you come in, you feed the bitch, they come in, and they make, dear God, what are you putting in that? Oh, but it tastes good.
There shouldn't be pepper in this cake.
Right? Ooh, got a nice kick, though. Okay.
Yeah, and like one of the other things I do is also, like, as a screenwriter, I like to cut in the middle of the tension, but like there'll be like a little button and I'll be like, and with that, the camera goes over here. And then it's like, oh, no, we're not resolving your scene yet, but I'll be back to you. And I've gotten really good at like, and camera 2, and camera 1, and camera 2.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
No.
I was just going to say one thing that I just wanted to mention on that point is that it can be a really good way to share spotlight between your entire table. If you have a section of the game, which happens in every single game, where you have actually integrated your players' current and backstories to make a callback to Mailbag 1, that one session or 2 sessions or whatever is going to be more heavily focused on one player's story than it is necessarily another. That letting some tension ride and finding the moment to move focus and spotlight to another character or another player can be a really great way to keep everyone invested and feeling like they are participants in this story and not just spectators watching somebody else have a really cool adventure.
Yes. Because I will go back to that first question. I will like be like, all right, we're gonna go down this person's backstory, but you gotta trust me, it's gonna be fun for you too, and we'll get to you soon. That is a threat.
It's always a threat.
Like, we've all watched episodic television. And sometimes there's the Riker episode. And sometimes there's, you know, like, it's just there's this, like, here is a little slice of this character they're the main character for this episode.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
But then the next episode might connect back more to the whole
Yeah.
overarching story of the season. Okay, but we've got this little microcosm that teaches us something about a cool story moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Strange New Worlds is fantastic at that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Every episode really focuses on one particular character, sometimes two.
and it
but
doesn't just focus on the captain like they
Right,
felt
yeah.
for so long. Like it's so good.
Yeah, and yet they completely weave everybody else in and around them, and connect everybody together and reveal new things about other people beyond just the person who's the focus of the story. It's an excellent study in spotlighting. Yeah.
Rose, I'm always talking about you.
Yes.
You just run constantly, live
Yeah.
rent free in the back of
Yeah.
my mind.
We ready for mailbag number 3?
Oh, I was just
Oh,
going
go
to say
ahead.
one more thing about this topic, and because most of our GMing or most of our advice show focuses on GM advice, but I think it's a good idea here to
Oh, yeah.
to give some player advice too. But if you're playing in a game, really cooperate with the spotlight that is being distributed, and when somebody else is in a scene, don't sit there like looking up your next character level or
Sending DMs to
DMs.
somebody else
Right,
in
yeah.
the game.
right.
Pay attention. Be
Yeah.
respectful.
Listen to them, watch them, find think about ways you might be able to weave what's happening with them together with your values as well. And and it's just, not only is it courtesy, but it also makes for a much richer game experience. And when you're in being the focus of a scene, you will get so much out of them focusing on you as well. So yeah.
I'm so glad you brought that up
Yeah.
because I meant to earlier and got
Yeah.
whooshed away.
Right? Yeah. So many opinions.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Deep feels.
Are you okay?
Okay.
I can if you'd like.
No, it's fine. Okay.
I have no feelings about this. I mean, I have feelings about the topic of the email. I don't have feelings about reading the email.
Hello, Empress Kimmy and her Jacker Court. Ooh.
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 So
I'm
after
guilty of being in the Jacker court.
Hey,
Dave.
clothes.
yes. So after a fairly lively conversation on the Discord, insert Discord hype here, and James V, please post a Discord link in the stream. That's your cue, buddy.
Come on
Thank you.
down.
And yes,
I
seriously,
don't know why I said that like Cal Worthington.
the
Inside joke for old people in Southern California.
There you go. Very specific.
the Happy Jacks Discord is a really great place to be. It is where JackerCon was, as we were talking about before.
Yeah.
Okay. I've decided to drop an email about it. I'm not sure what it is yet. I'm a little scared.
The conversation, yeah.
Very long story short, I am trying to introduce more and more one-shots of weird games to my players. Games where the mechanics are different than the typical roll high against your skills. Or, I guess in the case of, Call of Cthulhu, roll low against your skills. The problem is, some of these systems are terrible. Others are amazing, though. 10 Candles, For the Queen, Last Girl, just to name a few. So finally, my question. What is the weirdest TTRPG you have ever played that you actually enjoyed playing? It's rude for you to throw in like a really hard qualifier right there at the end.
Right. Yeah. Like-
Keep on being awesome.
I'm-
Virik from DC, missing SoCal weather. It's like 100 degrees every day now,
Yeah.
so doubtful.
It went from, it's so chilly, I'm going to need a jacket and a
It
scarf.
rained for 4 months.
Yeah.
Right.
And then now it's 150
Yeah.
degrees.
Yeah.
P.S. If you need more content, Gandalf, Mary Sue, or reasonably used mentor. Drink! Oh, that's old
Shit.
school.
Damn it. There's got to be a little left.
Get the
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
anyone who is arguing that Gandalf was a reasonably used mentor is wrong.
Deus Ex Machina.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Used mentor, yes, but reasonably.
Well, let's see. I could have them go and discover this information, or I can introduce this guy who knows everything,
Yeah.
but only when it's convenient.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, dirty used pet tour.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Gandalf is a trickster god. Let's be clear about that. Okay, so yeah, the hard modifier at the end really, like, that screws me over a lot because I can. So, all right, you've touched on two of my my hot buttons. I don't tend to really enjoy most one shots. And
No.
I don't like super weird concept games most of the time.
Same.
When thanks. Yay, good. Okay. When I want to play a TTRPG, I want, like, it doesn't have to be like typical trad game kind of D&D, like, although I love that stuff, but I want to sink into characters and I want to tell a whole arc, and I want, like, I get so much connection to my characters. I don't want to let them go after one shot. And when you've got weird ass mechanics, like I'm just like, nah, I'm good. Like if you want a weird ass mechanic, that's fine, but make me play it for months so that I get used to it and I can understand and enjoy it. I don't want to just walk in and like, okay, here are your like 5 pig butt tokens. And when you want to like win at life, play a pig butt, and then you have to trade that for a dolly whip. I
100% want to play a game.
Big butts and dolly whips.
Like, I have to say that, like, as soon as you said dolly whip, I was like, oh, 9 to 5. And I'm so on board with that.
Okay, yes, I will play a game of 9 to 5, the RPG. Like,
No,
yes.
it's now a game called Pig Butts and Dolly Whip.
No, yeah, I've played like 10 Candles. It's really cool. It's not something I want to play regularly. I want to play it once every few years or so. That's cool. I love For the Queen, but Kimmy mentioned on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, like, for a time we were playing For the Queen like every third hour, and it's like, okay, kind of done with this for a while. And then everybody loves Fiasco, and I'm like, I played it twice, I'm good, thanks.
Yeah.
But that's me. I know that this is a personal taste. I like things a little more structured, and I like things more long term. That's why I like episodic TV much more than movies. So.
Yeah, I've been doing, I started during the pandemic. When it came around, I was like, oh God, the depression is coming. I need to fight it. And the only way I know how to fight it is to start as many games as possible. Yeah. And so I was running 3 games for a while, and it was supposed to be one-shot adventures. So not like just one night, but we would finish out this adventure over the course of a month or two, and like then I would move on to other people and all this stuff. Every single one of them turned into a campaign, including... I just started doing in-person games a few months back, or actually, a year ago. And like literally everybody, I was like at the end of it, like they killed a dragon, and I'm like, oh, and in the dragons pile, there's a deck of many things. Who wants to? Because I'm like, we're never gonna see these characters again. Like literally, I got a message like, I'm really bummed out about what happened to my character because like I really keep wanting to play her, and I'm like. That never occurred to me. We can just say that never happened. And it's a year later, and most of those people are now basically a regular gaming group.
Ah, nice.
Like, oh, man.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
That's like the most wholesome.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I love long form gaming.
Uh-huh.
I love long stories and weird payoffs after many sessions. That's great. I also love the like drive it till the wheels fall off nature of one shots.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can go into a Fiasco game and be the absolute worst fucking human being possible for 4 hours and come out the other end going, yeah, that was great.
This is where one shots really excel.
Yes.
Drive it like you stole it.
Yeah.
Be your best chaos gremlin. Because it doesn't have to be the worst version of whatever character you're playing. It could just be the most like all of your most chaotic influences,
100% id.
just let them free. Let them dance naked in the moonlight around the fire. Like, yes.
Yeah.
That being said, I would say Brindlewood Bay. People think Brindlewood is like a pretty standard PBTA kind of game, but when you're running a one-shot of it, you can get super weird with what's going on, but with the characters, the murder mystery itself, bringing in, like, because obviously, like, Brindlewood Bay is the answer to that meme about Jessica Fletcher being a agent of the Elder Gods, right? So you can
I didn't realize that was the question.
You can bring in all of that weird shit right at the top. And then you can, like, depending on who you have, like, at your table, and how deep into the lore of 80s and 90s procedurals / cozy television mysteries that they, like, how they're hooked in. It's like when you have a table full of, like, people who are super into Star Trek. The Star Trek game, the Star Wars game that we've played in, the Lord of the Rings game that y'all just finished that I know, like, the Discord really fucking loved.
Oh my god, it's so good.
And honestly, I love too.
It's the first game that legit got me crying.
Nice.
At the table.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And, like,
In a
Brindlewood
good
Bay
way.
is that, but for people who grew up, like, in the living room with their parents on Sunday night watching a Matlock and Murder, She Wrote back to back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was me.
Yeah. Or in my family's case, that was every night.
Yeah.
like, let's put in a VHS tape of our Matlock and Murder, She Wrote episodes that we recorded last week and watch them again tonight. Like, yeah.
I've got to say, the weirdest and most fun I've ever had in a one-shot was in high school. As teenagers, we played a game of Paranoia that was, like, because knowing that it was a closed-ended game, that by the end of tonight's session, tonight, we played probably for 12 hours.
Miss
That-
college.
That was it. That was gonna be done. Like, we could do all the crazy backstabbing and killing each other and weird stuff, and we laughed for that entire time to the point that the guy whose house we were at, his parents left. Like, we were having so much fun. They were like, I can't take it. Yeah.
These nerds. They're
Yeah,
too much.
and so, like, and the great thing about that game was that he made it because it was like, you know, we were like the punk rock nerds, and then, like, the people that we were fighting were these mutants who were, like, the people that we hated in high school.
Right.
And, like, you know, the surfer bros, and, like, we had to go out and, like, get rid of this infestation of surfer bros. And they're, like, throwing surfboards at us that could kill us. It was a whole lot of fun.
It's super fun.
Yeah.
I do have to say, like, the few times that I've played Tin Candles, I have really gotten into it, and I have enjoyed playing characters in a way that I wouldn't normally play. Like, and what it is for me is I feel myself. I tend to do more shallow characters, and you know, and then I like to just put them in situations where they're just doing really dumb things, because that's a lot of fun. But yeah, I don't normally play those kinds of characters, and so so it is fun when I do play it and let myself enjoy it.
I mean, it's the difference between enjoying, like, a short story or novella versus a full-length novel. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going into that short story for, like, 99% angst and slow burn.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Instant fucking gratification.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And like, like, you know, George R.R. Martin, you have to understand, not only wrote Song of Ice and Fire stuff, but also wrote The Sand Kings, which is one of the most potent pieces of, like, 8 pages of science fiction that's ever existed. It's like, you know, I mean, if you haven't read The Sand Kings, it's a George R.R. Martin short story, and it's fucking phenomenal. But you know, like like I appreciate short form for what it is, and when I'm in the mood for it, or when I'm really into what the idea is, I love it. But the like with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I love that it's basically it's a 20-year epic now. It's, you know, like it was awesome when it was just Iron Man, and that was cool. But like now that it's this, you know, decades of building, I'm just beside myself. It's yeah.
Well, I guess like the question becomes, Dave, like weird ass one shot.
So, I will say that for a while at our local Strategicon,
Yes.
my friend Rob and I, we would show up to run blast from the past, jacked up games
Yes.
that nobody plays anymore. Because we're just that way, right? Maybe it is like a weird wanting to punish ourselves for being those teenagers that played those games. I don't know, but honestly, and here's a terrible game that is a ton of fun if you just throw away all your inhibitions and play the game. The Dallas RPG.
What?
Yeah.
It is the most horrendously sexist, terrible example of 1980 that you could imagine. Like, literally in the rules of the game, it says, like, hey, if you're playing one of the female characters on the show, you should team up with the other women, because there's no way you're going to defeat one of the guy characters. Yeah.
Wow.
Like,
Should JR, I ask you.
I know, right? Yeah.
that's the whole thing. But, like, it's a fascinating, weird system, and you can find it online available, not digitally, but you could get somebody to mail you the copy of the game. But, like, it has little, like, every character for an episode. This was actually one of the very first licensed RPGs.
Wow.
Because it came out in 1980, right? Very early on in the RPG lifecycle.
Wow.
That it has, every character has a list of goals for an episode. And so your goals might be A, B, and C. And Adam's goals might be D, E, and A. So maybe you have something to work towards, and maybe you have some things that you're against each other. And like, it's a fascinating, weird system, but it's super fun, especially if you just dive all the way into this like terrible soap opera-ness
Yeah.
of it. It's super great.
Oh, what is it? I haven't played it. In part because La Passion.
Oh, La Pasión de los Pasiones.
Yeah, yes.
Oh,
the one that
I've
it
heard-
is-
yeah.
The telenovela.
Yeah.
Telenovela.
Yeah. I've heard it's really good. Yeah. Yeah.
I've
Passion
watched
Passions.
Yeah.
some APs of it. It has been amazing.
Mhm.
I really would love to get an adaptation of like Hindi serials for that
Yeah.
because like I got really into Hindi serials for a while because I was I'm learning Hindi,
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's a daily dose of like half an hour or whatever, like where you just get a bunch of people talking and then a bunch of like reaction shots, so you get time to process what
Yeah.
they said.
Nice.
But it's that kind of idea, and I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and if you
it's
want
great.
something that's soap opera based, but maybe a little less like gender essentialist and terrible,
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
like,
Yeah. There are way better modern takes on the genre,
Yeah.
for sure. I don't disagree there, but it's pretty hilarious, and it's a
Yeah.
great one-shot time.
Yeah, I do
Like-
love running like a funhouse type one shot where it's just like I think first thing that you ever need to do if you want to run a game for your friends is make a pitch document. And it only needs to be like, I make it one page, but it's like set up in Illustrator with artwork, you know, to give the vibe of things. So like, you know, I did a how the Grinch stole Christmas, because you know, can't do Grinch. And I sent it to my friends, and I made sure to include like goofy cartoon character Christmas elves, because I wanted people to know, like, this is not a serious game.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be a caricature,
Yeah.
a cartoon, and that's what we're going to be playing.
Yeah. I totally didn't just write up and hand out a 4-page setup for the game I started last night. So
Nice.
totally didn't.
Speaking
I
of,
do that too.
I cannot recommend Toon highly enough for one shot.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
I bought Toon, but we never played it, and I
It
wanted
is
to so
just
bad.
stupid fun.
Yeah.
You go into it with all of the tropes of all of the cartoons we grew up watching,
Yeah.
and you just make a character, and you're goofy, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I'll tell you, so one game that I think it would kind of fall in this like category of weird mechanics and I have the ash can of it, and I've been wanting to play it since I first found it and picked it up at a con or something. But it's called Ribbon Drive. And it's like a 10-page rule book basically, but the mechanics are that everybody creates a mixtape for the road trip. And then you kind of randomly pick one person's tape, and the first song on theirs that's the theme of the or the that's the theme of the story or the plot of the story, and then each person sort of like puts on another random song, and like that's your character and this is your character, and so it's like entirely done by like picking random music that each player has put together as like, I love this song. Yeah.
Oh, I love
yeah.
that.
Right? Yeah. And I've been fascinated by it since I saw it, and I was like, I want to play this, and I've never gotten around to figuring out getting it to play it. So yeah. So you're in. Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
It's a cool
I
game.
know. Yeah. Have you played it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
It was weird because I played it with people I didn't know.
Oh, uh-huh.
Oh, that feels.
So-
I feel a little like.
Well, it was a
I would-
convention.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's
So, like,
nice.
that's what I try to do when I go to conventions.
Yeah.
Is like, let me sign up for games I've never played before
Yeah.
because I'd like to try that.
Mm.
And if I love it, I'll take it home and cherish it forever.
Yeah.
But it was awkward because of like you don't know somebody, so you don't know why they picked a song.
Yeah. Yeah.
With a group of actual friends, it would be easier and more interesting, I think,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
to get a little deeper on the music.
See, that's I think where my reaction came from. It's
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
I have played a few, con games where it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to this table with people I don't know, which like I'll be honest, I don't like it.
Yeah.
But
I'm with
not
you.
because of the people, but because of me.
Yeah.
But like specifically music is such an individual, like
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
connected thing that it's like opening up somebody's ribcage and looking at their organs. It's like, well, I don't know you that way.
Wow.
Wow, nice
Well,
kidneys.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We are not at the gallbladder sharing stage.
Exactly.
The other con one shot that I played that was glorious, Emily, who is a regular here on Happy Jacks, ran Girl Underground for
Oh,
myself
yeah.
and another frequent friend, and it was great. The mechanics are basically like you make characters, and you are, I mean, not exactly, but sort of thematically, you are like the Tin Man and the Cowardly Lion and the companions of the girl on an adventure of some kind. And you kind of set up who the girl is before the game starts, and you take turns taking actions for the girl, whoever they are.
Right.
So like you kind of guide them through a story, but then you're playing your character at the same time. Mechanically, it's super cool. It's also very inexpensive. It's an easy to pick up game, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking about con games, and I realize that I can't, in good conscience, let this episode end and not talk about running Alien as a one-shot being the weirdest experience ever that I love. Dave ran a
Everybody's gonna
one-shot.
die.
Yeah.
You just know at the end of it that even if you're not gonna die, you're gonna end up super, super fucked up at the end of
Yeah.
it. I've been a player in an Alien one-shot twice now, and they have both been mechanically super weird. The system doesn't necessarily feel super built for a one-shot, even though it is.
I think you just need more time than the typical 4-hour-ish one-shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But both of those games have been amongst my favorite one-shots ever.
Yeah.
My weird Aliens hack that I played, Aliens using the Tales from the Loop Kids game,
Oh, wow.
was super fun. I love doing it. It's a game I will never play on a stream,
No.
but it's also a game that, as a GM, I realized when I came up with the idea, because I was inspired by, if you ever watch the director's cut of Aliens, or the behind-the-scenes stuff that might be on a Blu-ray or a DVD, I know, weird, archaic formats, there are scenes that they filmed of the colony from Aliens
Oh, yeah.
that was just colony life,
Mhm.
right? Like the people that were working there, and there's a scene of a kid riding a big wheel
Which
thing down the
you
hallway. that
see
had the
later
whale
on in the
recon-
movie in the actual cut. Yeah.
Oh.
It gives it context.
It's like overturned.
Yeah.
So they're like, it's the families and the people that live there in this little snapshot of the colony.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, like this totally would work for Tales from the Loop. Like,
Yeah.
all of those types of kids could be living on this colony.
Yeah.
Let's do that. So we just made characters like standard, but knowing that was the universe that they were in.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, the one thing I can never do is put the alien in the same room as the kids.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It always has to be like just off screen or behind a frosted glass window killing somebody.
Yeah.
Or whatever. It's the terror that never meets them.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's pretty good.
And like they created all the drama themselves. And I was just like, this is delightful. And I just keep to get pushing them around. Like it's 100% just an animatronic on a dolly cart that I'm just walking behind the kids, carrying them. And it was great. Verk, you're welcome to send me a message and I can send you any of the stuff I have for it.
Yeah, we
it's
did one of the guys in my Wednesday group ran us on a Tales from the Loop, but like, fantasy thing. And so I played like the kid, I was the brooding kid. I was like, none of you get me. You know? It was so much fun. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. Like literally, I'm a ranger.
Right.
And Tales from the Loop is probably one of my favorite RPGs ever.
Mm-hmm.
Weirdly, you can't play it with anybody like under 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they don't get it.
It doesn't connect with younger.
Yeah.
I mean, you can. I'm not trying to be ageist, but
Yeah.
I have had bad experiences running it for younger people,
Yeah.
especially kids. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think Tales from the Loop is meant to be run at all by people who are actually going through that stage of their
Yeah.
lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
It's pure nostalgia.
Yeah. And similar to doing masks for teenagers, like most teenagers I've tried to get into masks, they're like, I don't get it.
no. Like Monster Hearts is made for teenagers.
Yeah.
Masks
Yes.
is made for adults.
Yeah.
Tales from the Loop is made for adults. Like,
Just with some distance.
yeah, some games you just need the distance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And especially when you're talking about like playing like kids on bikes, like kids on
Mhm.
skateboards, like kids on hoverboards. Like if I was still a kid, I'd be like,
Yeah.
you?
Right? Yeah.
Like, why do you think I would ever do this?
Yeah.
that's the thing. Is like anybody that grew up in the fully digital generation.
Yeah.
They're like, why wouldn't I contact the authorities?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have adventures.
No.
That's ridiculous.
I can't
You know,
leave the
the
house.
rest of
My
us
mom said not to.
That would like
yeah.
you be home when the streetlights come on and then get out.
Yeah.
Like that's not their life anymore.
No.
No.
Mm.
Yeah, it's very true. And I imagine
Kids these days.
Right? Yeah. I'm sure like you're like
Protecting them against evil.
right? Yeah. Your Shady Pines game that you were
No.
working on with Tales from the Loop, but with
I'm trying
people
to.
from the nursing home.
So I'm trying to continue the Tales from the Loop is set in the 80s, and you're supposed to play young teenage, tweens. Then they came out with Things from the Flood, where you play older teens, young adults. And then I'm like, no, I want to have the game set 40 years beyond that, and it's like 80s, 90s. I'm like, no, I want to have like the 2040s game.
Yeah.
Where it's those same kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now they're in the retirement home and doing that. So like I've been working on that for a while.
Yeah. But I imagine that would not go over well with actual elderly people.
I feel like there you need to do the 2 weeks from retirement set.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
Get too old for this shit.
The perennial Danny Glover.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I'm also like terrible at running one shots. Like it's like every time I try to write a half-hour episode of TV, I'm like, well, fuck it, 1 hour. You know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I had a one shot that was supposed to be clearing out a castle of monsters because this one guy got it in the deck of many things, and that went 6 or 7 sessions.
Yeah.
But like every time we pushed it one more, I was like, well, it's going to be another like 6-8 hour session, so I'll add some more, and like everybody seems to be enjoying this, so I don't really care if we finish it.
Yeah. I've played a number of those where I'm like, okay, everybody, this is just going to be like 3 or 4 sessions and then we'll be done. And then it's like, like 12 months later, it's like, okay, we're sort of getting to the end of what I had planned. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so at the early cons when Stork and I would co-GM.
Mm-hmm.
Stork is a dude that will dive into a topic and then come up for air 3 months later and have 700 pages printed out in notebooks and be like, cool, I've prepped stuff for our 4-hour con game. And I'll be like, oh, dude. So, like, we would have an editing session where I would go over and be like, this is great. Let's use that.
We need
Okay.
like 2 scenes.
Let's,
two counts.
and that's where we sort of patented we called it the Lego method of story building, of like, cool, here's the first brick. That's the part we know we have to do. Then all the bricks between here and the conclusion are swappable, or pullable, and we can just come to an ending.
Yeah.
Because it's too much otherwise.
mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I think we have. I think we've done a good job.
Yes.
Well done. Just pat
We did it.
yourselves on the
Excellent.
back. Yeah.
We
I
have
was just
definitely talked around people's
Right.
questions and blown enough for them not to realize that we did not answer.
That's right.
I gave confident answers.
Let's say the quiet part out loud.
Oh.
Haha! Right back again if you still need answers.
If you have a problem with that, write it again.
Yeah. See, if we don't actually answer your questions, you have to keep writing email.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we do need emails, which you can
Milk the
send
giant cow of villainy.
And we do need more emails. So if you have any questions, send them to happyjacksrpg@gmail.com.
Bam!
And with that, thank you for joining us for season 32, episode 11?
Yeah,
Some
11.
Yay!
Please support our amazing indie designer of the month, Allison, at drazillion.itch.io. Gonna spell that DRAZILLION, and you can figure out how to spell itch.
Not Drazil Lion, as was mentioned before.
It could be
Drizzle
Drazillion.
Lion.
We don't really know. I just like saying Drazillion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great name.
Yeah. Rolls off the tongue trippingly. Thank you to our chat mods, James V, and to our amazing patrons who keep us ad-free and independent. happyjacks.org/Patreon. Host names again.
I'm Adam. I was ready.
We're
You said host names again and looked my direction.
hey.
I took the cue. That's how you listen actively, people.
That's how you throw the spotlight.
Exactly.
Read rest of message. Or
There is
whatever.
not an Unsung Tales game on Monday anymore, but tomorrow I have ordered it and it has arrived today. My swim mask. I will be on Twitch streaming Dave the Diver.
oh, okay.
No,
I
that's
was like,
awesome.
If you're bored and you want to stop by and chat, please come by, because streaming all by yourself to the void is really boring.
Yeah. Because seriously, like, I
'Cause
saw
I am
that
David
ad
Diver.
and I'm like,
They made
that's
that game and no one paid me royalties, and I'm real upset.
Yeah. I think you should write in.
Definitely should.
To
And then-
happyjacks.
And then somebody should make a TTRPG of Dave the Diver, and make its rules really
Yeah.
weird, and then we can play it. And talk about
Right?
it.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Also, I think we need to buy you a wetsuit, and
I am not streaming in a
yeah.
wetsuit. That would be hot as fuck.
It's the middle of summer.
My computer is not set up in a walk-in fridge. It's not happening.
Oh, well,
As I said before, host names again.
on that note, I am Pooja. You can find me on the internet as Forgotten Saves. You know, if you want to hear more of my voice, you can find me here at Happy Jacks on Sundays before this show, playing
Pinnacles.
that,
Tentacles?
you know, like character that we were talking about earlier who doesn't have a lot of ties outside of the game, but like as soon as someone comes for her people is going to throw down.
Yes.
Oh, back to me. I'm Kadave again.
That's right.
Ah,
It says host names again.
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 I mean, we already went through host names again, so
did it.
now it's your turn, and let's go.
It's my turn. I'm Ingy. You can follow me at John Ingy, JONENGE.card, CARRD.co. We're hopefully going to leave you with a song. I don't really know where the music is on this thing. Hopefully it's
integrated.
already
When you
set
hit the
up.
click
Yeah.
button, it'll go.
Awesome.
So this is Toss a Coin to Your Witcher by the Merry Sues on happyjacks.org.
Toss a coin to your witcher, oh valley of plenty, oh valley of plenty, oh. Toss a coin to your witcher, oh valley of plenty. When a humble bard graced a ride along with Geralt of Rivia, along came this song. When the white wolf fought silver-tongued devil, his army of elves at his feet they did revel. They came after me, masterful deceit, broke down my lute and kicked in my teeth. When the devil's horns minced our tender meat, and so cried the witcher, he can't be bleed. Toss a coin to your witcher, oh valley of plenty, oh valley of plenty, oh. Toss a coin to your witcher, oh valley of plenty. The edge of the world, fight the mighty horde that bashes and breaks you and brings you to mourn. He thrust every elf far back on the shelf, high up on the mountain from where they did come. He wiped out your pest, got kicked in the chest, a friend of humanity, so give him the rest. That's my epic tale, champion prevailed, defeated the villain, now pour him some ale. Toss a coin to your witcher, oh valley of plenty, oh valley of plenty, oh. Toss a coin to your witcher, oh valley of plenty.